Okay, guys, I think let's dive in and then people can just join as and when they are ready. So thank you very, very much for joining today. I hope you're all doing super well. I know this is probably in some of your lunch breaks, some of your coffee breaks. So thank you so much. It's good to see some people from the region attend, kind of across Asia as well as Australia. So I super appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much. Now, before we kick off, as I know there'll be some people on the call that have seen Keepme before or some that haven't, I just want to introduce myself. As I said, not Hillary. I am Olivia, otherwise known as Liv, and I am representing Keepme, the sales and marketing platform made for fitness operators like you by fitness operators like us. Now, for some of you that have or maybe have seen or have heard about Keepme before, you will know that our platform does a very, very long list of wonderful things, from predicting at-risk members, which is something we've become a bit famed for, to helping you create highly personalized automated sales processes. But today, as you might tell by the title of this event, I wanted to hone in on one area that I personally get asked about a lot across the region, and that is social selling. Now, I want to be clear. Keepme is not a social media tool. We are not a Hootsuite. We are not a LocoWise, but we know social, especially in ANZ, is a key driver of lead generation and revenue. So we have created certain features within the Keepme sales platform that speak to some of the issues operators have surrounding that social selling piece. I speak to operators on a sort of daily basis, as I said, across the region, but the main kind of universal issues that I hear fall into really three core buckets. The first is not knowing who to target, on which channels, and at which point in the calendar year. The second, a bit more operational, which is around tracking leads. Often they get tracked from social incorrectly or credited to the wrong lead source, or, worst case scenario, they get missed entirely from entering the funnel at all. And the third one, which is arguably the hardest one, is keeping those social leads engaged throughout the sales process. Today, you're in luck. We're going to cover all three of those pain points. Now, if you have heard about Keepme, or as I said, if you've even seen the platform before, you'll know that we do support operators across a lot of different areas, from sales processes, member engagement, and forecasting across every single stage of a member's life cycle. So given our breadth of features, some of which are, industry first, they've never been seen by our industry before, you may think, why have I chosen a form of marketing or selling that has been workshopped and spoken about for quite a few years now? The answer herein lies in my personal background in London almost a decade ago, when I started my career as a social media manager. For many, many years, I supported brands in-house, through agency, and even as a freelancer, specializing in supporting wellness brands across global campaigns. This, of course, gave me some fabulous, phenomenal insight on how some of the biggest brands in the world use social media to sell directly to consumers, which was pretty handy knowledge to have when I decided to move into fitness. I left London to move to Singapore and lead the marketing and social outputs for a boxing gym, and face the challenges that so many of you guys I know face today. Even though I had the technical knowledge of how to run a campaign successfully or how to optimize social spend, there were still quite a few holes. So with these holes in mind, when we launched Keepme, we knew the areas we needed to support you on. And from this, with the help of our magical development team and ever-evolving customer feedback, we developed some of my favorite Keepme features that support your social activity. So how is today's session going to work? I'm going to split today's session into two halves. The first one is going to be for the marketers out there. So we're going to be talking about social support and how we can support you around your campaign activity. And then the second is more for my sale guys out there. And we're going to be looking at selling optimization. So without further ado, let me dive into some of the features. Now, bear with me. I am just going to share my screen with you. This is my first ever LinkedIn Live, guys, so bear with me. Sorry. Here we go. Hopefully you guys can see that all okay. Fingers crossed. So this is the Keepme sales dashboard, okay? We have a few core areas of the platform. We have membership and we have sales. But today, as I said, we're going to talk predominantly about our sales dashboard. Now, let's start with that campaign support. Let's start to look at the future, and we're going to dive into this feature, which really is my recommendation for any new client onboarding with Keepme to look at this graph first. What this is doing is essentially looking at the performance of your sales process. So it's looking at the number of leads that have been acquired, the number of sold, and then the conversion rate. The data that I'm hovering on now, this kind of blocky data, this is your historical data, okay? So this is looking at the last 6 months of your performance. And then on the other end, the muted data is the first time we can see some of the AI prediction. So this is where we're looking at your future performance. Now, why is this useful? Well, as a marketer, as we know, content calendars can be the bane of our lives, and trying to plan a content calendar blind, which essentially, we are, or sometimes based on historical figures, can be pretty hard. I know obviously Australia heavily affected by weather and things like that and calendar months, but as we know, the last few years have been a little bit crazy. So this is really helping you get that sort of consistency and assurance around your future performance. What Keepme does is predict the number of sold, the number of leads acquired, and your conversion rate over a 6-month period. So if we were to look at this data, for example, we can see it's fairly consistent, actually. We're having a great month in April, but there's a slight dip in leads tracking for September. Now, because I know this back in March, it means when I'm plotting my H2 calendar, I can make sure that I upweight August with some more additional social spend or maybe a new campaign so we can combat that potential dip. Now, of course, all of the graphs that I'm going to show you today, of course, are live and they ebb and flow. So as you do plug in more social spend, or maybe you run a referral campaign, we will see these numbers change. But the idea being is that we give you the roadmap to change the predicted outcome, rather than sitting in August and thinking, oh, we've got less leads than normal. Because we know the 6 months in advance, you can really plan your content calendar to optimize your budget. For example, we might want to take some budget away from April because we know that's a really good month and move it into the latter end of the year. So this is where you plot your spend. When you plot your spend, I should say. The next core question I get asked a lot is on which channels, which takes me to perhaps my favorite feature on the entire Keepme platform, which is lead sources. This graph is really multifaceted. You can use it in lots of different ways and it has a lot of different benefits. So we are going to come back to that when we're looking at the selling optimization half of the call. However, the way we're going to look at it in this lens through the social support is very much looking at telling you which channels are working and what isn't. I think all the marketers would agree with me here, especially anyone that's in digital and social. All of the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they do amazing jobs of showing you what I like to call vanity metrics. So they're great at showing you reach and clicks and engagement. And all of that is really, really useful to know from a marketer perspective. But what we really want to know is how is that setting from a revenue perspective? Okay. So what this is doing here, if we take Facebook as an example, is we are understanding that 12 leads have come through Facebook this month. But what we really want to know is how many have been sold. So we can see here that actually we can credit 6 new membership sales down to Facebook, meaning that, of course, our conversion rate is sitting at a beautiful, healthy 50%. Now, this essentially is your cheat sheet of what's working and what isn't. So let's say, for example, you're running a split ad campaign across Facebook and Instagram, and your budget is weighted 50-50. If we're starting to see that in one club, that actually Facebook's outstanding and it's outperforming Instagram, you can mean that from a budgetary perspective, you can reflect that in your planning, okay? The other cool thing is it enables you to get really experimental. So, we're seeing always the ever evolving landscape of social coming into the club and coming into fitness, TikTok being a huge new trend. If you decided that at one club, or maybe before you put a load of budget behind it, that you were going to, that you were going to run a TikTok campaign, or you're going to try that as a lead source for a couple of weeks, of course, you just plug it into Keepme and really, really quickly, you're going to know if it's actually generating sales for you. As I said, all those metrics around click, reach, and engagement, they're amazing, as are the volume of leads. That's still a really important one. But what you want to know is, are those leads actually converting? Okay, helps you kind of suss out some of the time wasters as well that we often get from social channels coming through for a free tour or trial. Of course, we don't just take our lead sources on face value. We, of course, dive into the success of our campaigns. So if we're taking Facebook, we can see these 3 channels are linked to Facebook. The first one is just our always on, so our page. Maybe we're just running an overall promotion on the gym. And then we've got 2 specific campaigns here. We can see one, there's been a lot of leads coming through, as I mentioned, volumes looking healthy, but actually no conversion. Maybe there's some of our time wasters, given the promotional discount content of the promotion. The other hand, when we have the personal training piece, we can see that actually our conversion is better. Now, the way that I've seen this testing work really well is twofold. Firstly, for a multi-site, you might just want to run some of these campaigns on one site before you decide to roll it out across the group. And this is a really great way to test the success of that. The second piece is if you have a small amount of budget and you want to run 2 different campaigns, or you want to run a variation of campaigns before you decide which one to bet on, this is where you would start to see some of that testing as well. So as I said, having an understanding of the whole way through to sale can be really, really hard to pull it together manually. Sometimes it's even hard just to credit which lead came from which source, let alone all the way down to the sale. But at Keepme, with this lead source chart, hence why it's one of my favorite, we really do that heavy lifting for you. So you can go into your social strategy really informed and almost guaranteed for success on the channels and the ads that are actually working for you. So we now know sort of where to plot our social spend. We now know which campaigns and which channels we want to run. And then the third and final piece is how we optimize our ads. So if I just take us back up here, this take action section is where we pull out quite niche cohorts of our lead base. But at Keepme, and I'll cover this as we go through, we speak a lot about how we take data from someone in the sales process and we move that into their member record as well. So for example, if I were one of your leads and it took me 2 trials to convert, and actually it was some extra time around a yoga discipline, for example, that pushed me over the line, or a particular trainer that I had a good relationship with that caused me to sign up, that's really useful information to know when we are looking at me trying to renew. Maybe we're trying to upsell me into another discipline. So having all that information from the sales process, the membership side, super useful. However, this is a really beautiful example of how we take data from the membership and pull that back into the sales process. So what Keepme does here with this conversion opportunity is dives into all of the existing members that you have at that club. And note that I'm saying that club, not across the group. We're looking exactly at the members at that one location. And we form what we call an ideal customer profile. What does that mean? Well, this means that we are looking at who are your best performing members. And by best performing, I mean best performing in terms of who's regularly spending, who's regularly renewing and referring frequently, whose attendance is fairly consistent, who's got a great length of stay or LTV. All of those lovely metrics, which mean that this person is one of the best attributes that we have in the membership to our club. We then take that audience and compare it to the current opportunities we have in our pipeline. So you can see here that Keepme is flagging 4 of our current leads match this ICP, match this ideal customer profile. Why is that important? Well, of course, we want to convert these people, right? These are going to be the best in class members if we do convert them. So we can either just prioritize them in the sales process. If I clicked view, we would have a list of those leads, which will be exported to front of house or the sales teams. They can have a bit more of an organic conversation when those people come in for their tour or trial. Or if I click take action, I moved into Connect, which is our lovely marketing hub, which I'm going to cover later. And we can send them down an automated path to keep them incentivized throughout that sales process, because we know they're more likely to convert. And we know if we do convert them, they're going to pay off. But you might be wondering, while I'm going down this tangent, what this has to do with social. The other additional piece here we can do is actually export this ICP, this ideal customer profile audience, and plug it onto the back of our social ads as custom or lookalike audiences. Meaning that we're only bringing our sales managers the best types of opportunities to convert. Kind of utilizing this optimization around targeting means we sort of do cut out some of the time wasters. And it means for any of the clubs that are in a fortunate position to be, reaching full capacity or only want to bring in members that really pay off, this is where we can start to bring in, as I said, those top tier opportunities. So yeah, this is how we optimize some of our social ads, and meaning even, for months like this that are dipping slightly, we might want to run an ad that are just targeting those particular ads. Targeting those particular members, so that when we do bring them in the club, they are definitely going to convert and help boost these projections up as well. So that essentially is our campaign support. Okay, so we've obviously spoken about how we can plan the campaign, the channels that we can work on, and then of course how we optimize our ads. So hopefully, based on a few of those features, your campaigns are now absolutely smashing it and you've got leads coming in fast and thick. But how do we get the most out of those leads? As you know, more than you need to tell me, we know that so many of our leads we've worked so hard to get, from beautiful content to really advanced social strategy, as well as the hard-earned dollars behind the budget that we have obviously set and allocated for those campaigns. We want to make sure that when we get these leads that we're managing them properly, which is going to take us back, you guessed it, to my favorite chart, which is the lead source. Now, as I said, a lot of benefits on this lead graph here. However, one of the biggest and most basic perk of having this lead source chart is an operational one. It means that no longer are you going to have a leaky pipeline. We integrate with the back end of every single lead source you have, no matter how varied that is across your social strategy. Okay, so whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we pull all of those leads through for you. Meaning that firstly, they are credited to the right source. How many conversations have you had internally where, you know, someone's friends on Facebook, someone's friends with you on Instagram as well, they just started following you, but then they've been on the website and filled out the form there. So, you know, who do we credit that lead source back to originally? So firstly, we cut out all of that gray question mark. And secondly, it means that every single lead gets entered in real time into your pipeline. One of the biggest issues we hear across the industry, irregardless of sector or region, is leaky pipeline, whether it be forms not being tagged properly, whether it being not having integration into any of your social, meaning manual processes need to be done to fill that pipeline, which of course always ends up being laced with error and is, you know, subject to time bias as well. This kind of cuts out that big old issue of a leaky pipeline. And for me, that's one of the reasons why this lead source chart is so important, as well as I said, as providing visibility into the success of your lead sources, especially across social. So once those leads have been seamlessly added into your pipeline, we do a few automated things in the background to support your process. The second piece that we do here is lead routing. So I'm going to move us now to the leads tab. This is where all of your leads exist. So let's say I'm a sales manager, for example, and actually, you know, I come in every day and I can see the new leads that have been added to my pipeline. I can see the calendar. You know, I can start to get all of these notifications around, you know, my workflow for the day. Now, when I come to this leads tab and I see this long list, these are the leads that have been routed to me. What do I mean by that? Now, we can route leads based on a few different preferences. An obvious one would be location. So if you're on the call and you've got 2 clubs and you have a sales manager at each individual site that you own, for example, of course, an obvious one would be routing to me if I looked after one of your site, and Michelle if she was looking after another one of your clubs. But we can get more granular than that. Keepme really caters to a real range of sales teams, from individual sales managers to managers who are part PT, part sales, to really complex centralized sales teams that manage, you know, 50, 60, 100 sites. So the routing piece is really, really key here because you want to match the opportunity with the relevant sales manager. So not only can we route just on location, we can also start to route on things like if, you know, I'm particularly good at selling to referrals, for example, because I have a great rapport and I still have my hand in with the member experience piece. Or maybe Michelle is great at selling personal training packages, or I'm particularly good at selling to females or under 25s. All of those kind of references and preferences, we can start to build into the lead routing, meaning that when I come in as a sales manager every day, I know I'm optimized to sell to all of the leads in my pipeline. So let's have a little look at my pipeline. Let me just open up Jeet, who is one of our lead records. Now, similar to how you guys would have a member record in your member management system, we do the same, but we have our own version of a lead record. Now, as you can see, this is grouping together all the information that we know at a basic level about Jeet from the form that he's filled out, probably coming through that social ad as well. We can see he's actually come to us via referral, which meant that's why he's been routed to me, because I'm particularly good at selling referral emails, leads, for example. And on top of this basic information that we have about Jeet, one of our leads, we can start to see every single correspondence had with Jeet so far. So it means that, let's say Jeet has been in a previous sales cycle with us 6 months ago, or maybe Jeet's even a next member. I, as a sales manager, I would know this. Of course, knowing that Jeet is going down an automated sales path in the background, which I'm going to come on to next. The other cool thing is this is where, as a sales manager, I can be a bit proactive to engage with Jeet. Now, it doesn't just have to be the traditional calling, okay? We know this is something that is used a lot by sales managers, but we know that if leads, especially leads that have come through social, often tend to have interest and activity across other platforms, such as WeChat or WhatsApp. You can send a WhatsApp or you can execute an old school call, all without leaving this lead record. I can literally just plug in a template there, save it, and then it would automatically be added to that record. From a sales manager, it means you don't have to spend hours updating your CRMs or trying to remember who you called and if someone picked up. And for the people managing the sales teams, it also means that you can have a complete accurate log, which is automatically recorded on every single output that your individual sales managers have done. But as I said, the beauty of this is not only the automated recording, it's also with this platform usage, as we know that just relying on email, for example, or just relying on a call really doesn't suit the modern sales process. So that is our lead record. This is how we keep everything informed. And of course, we can still reassign. So if I'm actually, Jeet's coming back in for a trial on Tuesday, and I'm actually not on shift that day, we can also automate the reassigning of a lead to someone else. They can come in, see every single correspondence sent to Jeet, so they are not on the back foot. The other piece that we do to aid our sales managers in the on-person or in-person on the ground sales process is this lead quality scoring. Now, the reason that I'm showing this on this call today is because one of the biggest factors of whether we decide if someone is a strong, a medium, or a weak lead is their lead source. Now, you may have heard me say a few times, we drill down to the individuals at that club. Why is that important? Because at a per club basis, even if you're part of the same group or maybe you're spread across the same region, there will be different preferences for the individual leads and the individual members at that club. For example, if we were to take Singapore, a club that is based in CBD versus a club that is based in East Coast, for example. Facebook might be a really, really strong lead source for East Coast, but for CBD, maybe Instagram is stronger. So all of these kind of really small nuances play a big difference in how we rank these lead quality scorings. By having this lead quality score per lead, it aids our sales managers when they're doing their in-person selling. For example, if you have a weak lead, they're going to be a bit of a time waster. So if you've got 3 trials tonight, don't waste your time on the weak lead. They just want the free tour or trial. And we have got some clients that actually any weak leads, they won't even offer that free tour or trial too. On the other end, we have our strong leads. These are the ones that are ready to sign. So if you do have a bit of price flexibility, you don't want to use it on the strong because they're ready. They're good to go. You would want to be flexing that with your medium lead, who is going to need a bit more hand-holding throughout that sales process. So we are really trying to aid, your staff, whether they be the sales, the trainers, whoever's hosting that tour or trial or having that in-person call or interaction, so that they have an understanding of the people that they are selling to before they even walk through the door. Now, supporting all of this sales process, of course, is a very heavy level of automation from an engagement perspective. We've discussed how we automate the lead capture, the lead routing, and of course, even the scoring is automated. But what about the engagement piece? What happens when a new lead signs up from that social ad, from that Facebook campaign, fills out a form? What happens next? They would be sent down an automated path in Connect. Now, Connect is our marketing tool, and we support any engagement from lead to member through Connect in 2 different ways. Firstly, we have our campaigns. These are, the kind of one-off communications. As you can see, we're running an over 50s promo to the existing lead base that we have, versus automations, which, clues in the title, are communications that are sent in an automatic way the minute that a lead displays a certain type of behavior. So whether that be if they've turned up for a tour, whether that be that they've reached day 2 of their sales process, or whether that be that they clicked the last email but didn't click the link. Now, as you can see, we have a host of automations that people utilize across the sales process. But the cool thing about this is that the way in which anybody goes down their sales process is completely unique. As I said, it's based on the individual prospect or lead's behavior with you, not just a fixed course. So for example, if Michelle and I were to sign up on the same day via that social ad, we both came from that PT offer that was on Facebook, and we both have a tour booked in for Friday. Michelle has been regularly engaging with us throughout. She's been, picking up the emails that we're promoting, when the class is going to be, what we should bring, instructions of how to get to the club. But for me, I haven't opened a single email for 2 days. Suddenly, we would be routing our path to WhatsApp. Or maybe if we haven't even responded to the WhatsApp, day before the trial, we actually give me a call. All of this kind of personalization is really, really tied down to the way in which we engage with your offering. And of course, that translates across the membership side as well. No 2 member journeys ever are going to look identical. So we're really trying to support you without it eating into your staff's time. And I think that's the core part here. Once you set up this new lead journey, once you set up a sales process or a member journey, it is going out every single second of every single day without your staff even needing to lift a finger. As we said, in leads, you can take some proactive actions, but knowing they're going down that automated path, which is also going to show up in their record, means that the big heavy lifting and the consistency is always done. Sales process, as we've always said, is very often famed as being about creativity. It's not. That kind of heavy lifting is just about consistency, so that when those leads walk through your door, your staff are incentivized and ready to sell to them in a really organic way based on all the touch points they previously had, and also being aided by that scoring, of course. Now, of course, we have just a basic sales process or a basic new member journey, but what I just want to show you super quickly is this. We can get incredibly granular with all of our communications, whether they're campaigns or automations. So outside of just having, a sales process, we can have a sales process for the leads that have come to us via TikTok. Might be a little bit different than the leads that have come via Facebook. Or maybe we can create filters around if people are active on the email, they're not active on email, and then we can route it elsewhere. Or maybe if someone's been an ex-member or someone's been in a previous sales cycle. So we can add these really, really great layers of communication, meaning that not only are your leads receiving communications on the right channels at the right time that they're actually going to engage in, we can make it even more enticing by creating content behind it, based on preferences that they have, or based on the fact that they're an ex-member, making that messaging from your perspective incredibly organic and feel really, really natural, which is rare for a lead, right? Especially going down a sales process. It's not something that we see. We don't normally get consistency, especially across big groups. And we want to make sure the creative is really hitting home with us. And we give you the tools to be able to do that. So just touching on those X leads that I just spoke about as well. For any X leads that you have, maybe you have a database of leads that have been in previous sales cycles that didn't convert on the first time. We do have an ethos at Keepme, which is no lead ever goes dark. And the reason we say that is firstly, because of the operational piece around us pulling those new leads in seamlessly through the lead tracking. But also, even if someone's an ex-member, it doesn't mean that they're a no, it just means they're a no right now. We can send them down entirely automated communication paths that span a year, 2 years, 18 months. It's really up to you. Softer content, which can help incentivize them and keep them at the forefront of their mind. So whether they decide in 8 months to, restart their fitness journey, or maybe they left you for another club and that membership type is running out in the next year, you're always going to be at the forefront of their time without ever needing to eat into your staff's time for them to be manually chasing up all of those sort of heritage leads, if you like. So that's how we also retarget the X members or the X leads. And as I said, based on any information we gather from those members in either their sales process or their membership, we can apply that back into the retargeting. So if someone had an interest in yoga, we can make sure the content reflects that. Or if someone did have a really good rapport with the trainer, we can offer, a free session to re-incentivize them with that particular trainer. But for the last and final thing that I am going to cover today is not as fun and creative as some of this retargeting. It is our reporting. Now, we have a host of reports on Keepme, from leavers and joiners to really in-depth marketing reports, but I just want to show you a basic look and feel of a daily sales performance report. This is not really a feature that we thought was going to be a really big success on Keepme. It was something that we just felt we really wanted to do, but we didn't know it was going to be as heavily utilized as it is. And I think that's mainly because the look and feel of the report is so easy to digest. And of course, we remove the need for you to do any manual work to pull any of these figures. So as you can see, we do a breakdown of our sold, lead, and conversion. We can do a deep dive into some of the engagement paths. So as I said, using that multi-channel approach to be engaging with leads, WhatsApp, here is we can start to track some of the hopefully successful events and activity you have around those multi-channel use. We can look at tools and trials, a breakdown of our human performance, and of course, a last 6-month comparison of leads, sold, and conversion. As I said, reporting is never particularly exciting, but where it does get exciting is that A, you don't need to be pulling any of these stats. This is going to land in your inbox. You don't even need to log in to Keepme, but this would land in your inbox every day between the hours that you set. But secondly, we can start to do some quite interesting things here. So for example, we can set custom timeframes. So if you guys want to have an understanding of the success of a recent Instagram ad that you ran for 14 days last month, that is where you can start to plug in some of those, some of those custom timeframes so that you can make sure you're really understanding the full benefit of the social spend that you have allocated. And of course, for any of our multi-sites, we can always do comparison sites as well. Another great way to test the success of a social campaign at one site before rolling out across the group is having a look at the impact it's had on that sole location versus the other locations in the group. But yeah, as I said, the cool thing about all of this data is that this will land in your inbox every day between the hours that you set. And of course, our reporting spans a host of different features, whether it be from the sales process and that side, or whether it be from the membership as well. So that was kind of everything today, guys, that I was going to cover with you. I hope you can see that just, by turning on even really a few of these features, that this could make a huge impact to your social budget, spend and strategy. And hopefully for the marketers and the sales managers on the call, you can see how your life would be a lot easier and hopefully your conversions almost immediately a lot better. Social, as I have touched on, is ever evolving. And at Keepme, we help you get ahead of some of these trends with those predictive insights, and also just the time to allocate towards your socials planning, because we have the automated follow-ups. So no lead will ever go dark, whether they're from TikTok or whether they're from Instagram. Today, we literally, and I'm not exaggerating, haven't even covered half of the platform. We have an integrated calendar for the sales teams, so you can show all your tours and bookings, whether they're from social or whether they're from other lead sources. We have a live activity tab, so we can have a look at that multi-channel use on the ground in real time, especially when some of your other guys are not necessarily on the club floor. You can really get a bird's eye view on what's happening in the club that day. And of course, we have much more in-depth customer staff reporting, especially across that sales process as well. As you can see, we've merely scratched the surface on Keepme Sales, let alone the fact that we didn't even enter Keepme Membership, which of course supports all of your member experience and retention efforts from the moment that someone converts to the moment that they hopefully don't leave you. I do hope, however, that you can see, even if we use super advanced technology like the AI for the prediction or the algorithms for the lead scoring, that despite the complexity going on in the background, the platform itself is super easy and friendly to use. As I said, we created it, we're operators ourselves, and we really wanted to make the platform as intuitive and as easy to use as possible. That's me, guys. If you want to find any more about any of the features that we have or that I haven't shown you today, please feel free to head to our website and you can book in a call with me. Or even if you fancy just a chat about social or about your own social strategy, please feel free to slide into my DMs after this session and we can catch up then. I would love to connect with you guys further. And thanks again for your time and attention during your lunch break or your coffee break this morning. I hope you found the session useful and I look forward to catching up with you all soon. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys.